Hi, this is the Vibrant Entrepreneur Podcast, and I'm your host, Christy Oshita. Hi, I'm Christy Oshita. I'm your host for the Vibrant Entrepreneur Podcast. My passion is to help you become a very successful entrepreneur by developing and sharing with you systems that help you develop a product, grow your business, and optimize your operations through automations. I'm really passionate about it because I've started a few businesses and I see how much not having systems drives chaos in our entrepreneurial lives, how it reduces our chances for profit, and it also reduces our chances for success. And today, I'm going to share with you a really fun story. I lost $100,000. Okay, not so fun. Actually pretty shitty, really shitty actually. And but I thought, let's start off really honest. Like, let's just cut to the crap and just talk about our deepest, darkest, saddest moments that were recent. Just shows that, like, I am not that good at things sometimes. But actually, I don't want us to take it that way. I mean, that's the dark places I went, and I don't want you to go there. And just because you failed doesn't mean that you're not good at something, is what I have told myself now. So I've gotten to the stage of failure was an opportunity. So let's go to the story, but my reality of that happened not too long ago. I started a tennis school called Bumblebee Tennis in New York City right after I got to New York City, and I was in my 20s. I don't want to date myself. And I that did well, except it was so hard. It was trying to get instructors all over the city and facilities. It was just really difficult. I was really stressed. I was always into fitness, so I thought, why don't I open a gym, like this women's gym? And I did that. That's a whole nother story. So yeah, we haven't gotten to the point yet. The point is that did well. I decided, why not open a cycling studio? I loved cycling at the time, and I was thinking I could open it in Jersey City, where I was living at the time, or I could open it where the women's gym was in Brooklyn. And this is basically one of the most difficult decisions I made, or pivotal, really. I ended up opening it in Brooklyn, near the studio I had, because a spot opened up and it seemed like an easy way to do it. So was that the right decision? Well, let's just say once it opened, I was so excited, but once I had to start paying rent and I realized how few people were walking in from my expectation was, I was losing between $3,000 to $7,000 a month, depending on expenses, and I was losing my mind. Like, I felt so isolated and scared and like a failure, and just like this train wreck was happening, or it was about to happen, and I couldn't stop it. And basically I closed it about a year later, and then even a year after that I had to sell stuff, get rid of stuff. I'm still getting rid of a few things. And it just haunted me. And I thought, why didn't it do well? I had a few successful fitness businesses and they made money. And I've never really had to deal with losing so much money. So that was my 20s and 30s, everyone. And now I'm reflecting on that, and I have a new business I want to start. And I'm going to take with me the lessons I learned from that cycling studio, so I can truly say it was helpful, and that it's going to help me bring success into hopefully my next venture. And hopefully you will take the lessons I learned to not do the same mistakes. So what is the lesson I learned? Well, one thing I always said to myself is, I wish I was dating an accountant, because if you date an accountant, you could probably, it's illegal to do this, okay? So let's not really say I'm going to do this. And look, I'm not dating an accountant, but you could find out all of the information they have about, or all like the P&Ls of all the different types of businesses, all that data of their profit margins and their expenses, what really drives their costs, how much revenue they're making. These are the private businesses. Maybe that little falafel store in the corner is cashing in, but it looks like a shithole. Oops, but then that cute boutique, store with what looks like a lot of customers doesn't actually have high sales. So that's kind of what I would want to know. That data. And because what I realized is that I'm sitting in the cycling studio watching these people go by. I'm on the 86th Street in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. There's tons of people. It's sunny outside. I have a cute display. This one girl told me so. Okay, so yes, it was. And no one walked in. Like, we would just sit there and no one would walk into the darn store, the cycling studio. And I just thought, just by being open, people would walk in. So that was one of my first mistakes. Another mistake I made was thinking that I could will my way to making it successful. I could just convince people how awesome it was or keep optimizing the experience. But the bottom line is people weren't willing to pay what I needed them to pay at a very minimum amount for cycling classes. In fact, I don't even know if they were willing to pay for cycling classes, period. And the goal of this podcast is to explore how to get that data, get that information before you or I invest $100,000, $50,000, $1,000, or even $500. Because sometimes we get a lot of things right. I think that the cycling studio, the actual execution of it was A-, B+. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. And I think in a different location, it would have done better with people who maybe were in Jersey City, where people are used to and have the disposable income to pay for a premium cycling or fitness experience. So if I had that data, I might be having a different story. I might be saying I made $100,000, which would be a lot cooler. As much as I enjoy being able to tell people, oh, I lost $100,000, I think I might enjoy more saying I made that much money in a year. So this loss has made failure really real to me. At least I can say I didn't lose someone else's money. I didn't lose $1 million, but that could happen, and that could happen to any of us. And it doesn't mean we're bad entrepreneurs. It means very likely we had the wrong product. So now that I've learned that failure is real, okay, and it can really set us back, it can make us not achieve our dreams of being an entrepreneur and changing the world to going back to a job, which isn't terrible, but that's not what we're about. The point is that failure is real. It's so real. And it's so real that maybe that's why you're not starting the business. You see what's happened to other people. But the optimistic, awesome answer is that success is real, and we can get there by minimizing our risk through using data and systems. So I went back to a book that I read before I opened Alana Life and Fitness, as I was actually trying to create a content business, I believe, which was The Lean Startup, and another book called The Write It by Alberto Savoia. And these books basically say what we need to do is come up with a hypothesis about what people want. And then before creating an actual product, to see if people want that, because at that point that's me in the cycling studio fully equipped. That's you and the prototype of the self-cleaning toilet bowl wand. Instead, you find out that data before you create the product. So that's one of the biggest ahas. And another big aha is that there's different reasons why a product doesn't succeed. And lots of people think it's execution. They didn't execute the product right, or maybe they didn't market it right, and people just didn't know about it to buy it. But lots of these books are saying is that it's just the fact that people are just not that interested in the product. The product is just not solving something that's really painful for the customer, that they're willing to open their wallets to pay for it. So the idea is to find out if people are willing to open their wallets and pay for it by, if you can, offering the product somehow, which we'll figure out, offering the product, seeing if they're going to pay for it before even having the product. So one example, to make it really brief, is instead of me opening, and this is an example sort of from the Write It book, instead of me just opening a cycling studio, sitting in there and basically putting my hands together and praying to God that someone would walk in the door, or standing outside and basically hollering at everyone to come in, which is what I did. I did that. Also on a bicycle, I would take the bicycle out and I'd holler. Instead of doing that, I pay the landlord $100 and I put up a sign in the window, cycling classes, $10, come in and talk to me when you're ready, and just see how many people walk in, right? And I would have known from that, just that specific data point, for doing that for 1 week with $100, maybe even try to get 50, why not? How many people would actually come in interested in cycling classes for, let's say, $10 or $15. So he calls that sort of like, he says pretendo type. And in the lean startup, they have like the MVP, just a minimal viable product. But go even further than that is what I read in the Write It. I'm still like rereading the lean startup and the analytics part, but go even further than that. See how much data you can get with just $5 invested, and as little time invested. And why? Because it's a process. It's a cycle of having a hypothesis about how the product should be, or who it should be sold for, how it should be sold, seeing if people will actually pay for it and respond, and then seeing your data, seeing if you're right. Will people in the Write It, he talks about second day sushi at half off. Would people really be willing to eat second day sushi if it's half off? So actually offering it, maybe it not actually be second day, and you put a label on it and you put second day even though it's fresh, just see how many people actually opt to buy that at half price. So the exciting thing is you're incrementally getting better with very minimal investment. The worst thing is what Seth Godin talks about in sunk costs, is me, cycling studio, $100,000 in, and thinking and making decisions, not even off of data or even what I want, but because I've lost so much money that it seems like such a loss to close the studio, to throw the bikes away, one person said, and to say, yeah, the $100,000 did nothing for me. That was really hard, and that became a sunk cost, and that became a reason at times for me to keep it open. But that's not the right reason. If I just looked at the data that people were not interested in buying a cycling class or willing to pay, or enough people were willing to pay, I could have made a better decision. So we want to also avoid decision making off of sunk costs and go back to data. So if we use the process of coming up with a hypothesis and saying, I think that 50% of the people on 86th Street are going to walk in, or 50% of the women, because we're a women's only gym mainly, 50% of the women are going to walk in, show interest, and of those 50%, 10% are going to buy. And that's going to leave me with at least 10 customers a day buying $200 worth of stuff. So that's $2,000. And hey, we could live off of that. That could have been a hypothesis. And what I could do is do an experiment and see how many people actually walked in before actually renting the place, or even putting up a table, seeing how many people actually, did I get 50% of the women to stop by? Of those 50%, did I get 10% to buy something? And if it turns out it's not 50%, it's 10%, and of that 10%, it's 1%, then I know that maybe this is not a good business, or that's not a good location. So the whole process can actually be used not just for a product, is this do people want this product, but is it the right location, or is it the right demographic for that product, or am I selling it even the right way? Maybe I need to sell it not, obviously the scenarios, maybe I have a table, but maybe I need to sell it online. I don't know, just an example. So the methodology can be used in a lot of different ways, and even if you have a current business and you want to develop a new product line or figure out new opportunities, it's also something good. So my goal is to really understand these processes, and as I do my market research to start my new business, that I want to share with you the journey, because hopefully it goes really well, and hopefully my market data hypotheses work out, show that there is a demand for it. Is to have a lot of these processes ingrained so that I can use it to keep iterating and not just come across one great opportunity, but to make it the right product market fit for the product. The second thing I'm passionate about for entrepreneurs, so I can see their success, is avoiding burnout, avoiding the feeling that we need to sacrifice our souls, sacrifice our relationships, sacrifice everything to make it happen. And that's why I believe systems can help us, systems that help structure our day, systems to remind us to meditate and exercise. So I really want to share the holistic side of being an entrepreneur so that you can maintain your energy, because that is going to be the most important thing. And as an entrepreneur, no one is necessarily above us telling us, okay, you've done good enough, stop now, or you can, it's okay to give yourself a pat on the back, it's okay to give yourself a break or feel good about that. We have to do it for ourselves. I don't remember what venture capitalist quote I heard this from, but it was they told an entrepreneur they're funding, like, the most important person you need to manage is yourself. And that's absolutely true. I wouldn't say I've managed myself very well all the time, but I'm learning, and the structures and the ability to use those structures to get back going is really important for your happiness, so that you can keep being an entrepreneur and helping the economy and the world. The format's going to be sharing some learnings from books I've read, new processes I've developed from what I learned that I think will work for me in a very direct, real way, and also talking to other entrepreneurs or people who bring products to market or have to deal with automation and systems, and learning from them and hearing their story. So I'm super excited, and I'd love to hear what your experience has been. Have you experienced starting a business and losing a ton of money and wishing you did it in more of a lean way and tested that as a product market fit? Or do you have some best practices that worked for you and that you're sharing with other people? So I'd love to hear it in the comments or on social media. So I look forward to talking to you, and I appreciate your support. I can't wait to share with you more about the business I'll be starting and what I'm learning and putting together for my next venture. So I'll talk to you soon.